Let's talk about Kurt Angle. I want to talk about Kurt Angle a little bit. Hello?
Moveset. 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 Hey, fellow Americans. It's your old buddy and your old pal, R.D. Reynolds here once again with Moveset Radio. And as always, on the other end of the tin cannon string is the angle slam to my ankle lock, Mr. Blade Braxton.
Oh, it's true. It's damn true, Dale.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. This is the three eyes. The three eyes. Well, two eyes. I would be one eye, you would be the other eye, and you know what? All the great Kurt Angle fans out there, they would be the third eye.
This is the longest running Kurt Angle podcast in wrestling history. So there's a lot of fans out there, a lot of eyes, a lot of ears have been on this podcast over the years, and it's sad that it's coming to an end. Kurt Angle's career.
It is, but you know, when you really think about it, it's okay. It's okay. I don't want to get teary-eyed tonight. I want to think back to all the great matches he's had over his career. I want to lift him up. Not to drag everybody down. To lift Kurt up. The greatness of Kurt Angle. And we'll be talking about this all throughout the show.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get too far into the show, of course, we need to talk to one other person. And that would be this man, Lord Alfred, if you please.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
This is where I would generally say, believe it or not, kids, this radio program is sponsored, and I would talk about our Patreon account, patreon.com/WrestleCrap, and it would be great if you would donate there. But tonight, if it's okay with you, Mr. Braxton, what I'd really like to do is I would like to go back to a different type of sponsorship, and it's one featuring the man that we have done now 282 shows about, and that would be Kurt Angle, because I think it's really important that we go back, not only talk about the greatness of him in the ring, but the greatness of him all throughout his life. Doing corporate sponsorships is one of those things, and I just think that would be a cool thing to do.
Okay.
Okay, well, we're going to go back, and we are going to go back to when Kurt Angle was selling pizza.
Wow, Kurt Angle.
Keep the change.
Thanks.
Whoa, what's gotten into this pizza? Hey!
Come on.
They square off. Tomato drop kicks. Pepper scoops him into an airplane spin. Big slap. Pizza outlet. The taste that screams fresh.
Oh, man, that was beautiful.
Wow, that's really weird that I'd never noticed that bell sounds a lot like the bell in our intro music as well. I mean, that sounds like a tasty pizza. I'm sure that if it was available here near the Reynolds Ranch, I would buy one, and I'm sure if it was where you're at tonight, you would also be very much wanting to get that pizza that Kurt Angle was shilling.
There you go.
So, Kurt, just the amazingness of Kurt Angle. Obviously, just fantastic in the ring. But we want to continue on through the show like we always do, even though we're a little morose tonight, a little bit sad. I mean, it is a little tough tonight, you know? Just thinking this is going to be the last Moveset Radio that we do.
Uh-huh.
but it's something that we have to charge onward. We're going to move forward, and let's go ahead and start our next segment.
Hello, everyone. This is your Action News reporter with all the news that is news across the nation on the scene at the supermarket. There seems to have been some disturbance here. Pardon me, sir. Did you see what happened?
Yeah, I did. I was standing over there by the tomatoes, and here he comes.
This is one I'm really going to miss, where we would go and we would try and find things at the food mart that Kurt would have liked us to eat, that would have been healthy for our bodies, our minds, and our soul. It's Kurt's weekly trip to the grocery. You know, as I'm doing this tonight, I'm thinking one thing may be very helpful. There may be people that are just running around right now, and they are only thinking about the fact, and they may have only come to this radio program for the first time. Right now, they may not know we've done 281 episodes before this of Moveset Radio, where we talk about the greatness of Kurt Angle. And I think it's important maybe that we go back and listen to the very first Moveset Radio.
Okay.
I think people would enjoy that. So why don't we go back to the very first Moveset Radio, where I set it all on the table, I laid it all out, and I think it was something that eventually you weren't quite sure of, but I think eventually you understood where I was going with this and how we could do a podcast about nothing but Kurt Angle.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back and let's give it a listen. This would be all the way back to Moveset Radio, Episode 1.
Let's talk about something else. I don't want to talk about your underwear.
Okay.
Let's talk about Kurt Angle. I want to talk about Kurt Angle a little bit.
Talk about him.
I love Kurt Angle.
He's a good kid. I'm waiting for them to put out a Kurt Angle DVD. That's something they've long neglected.
Yeah, I would almost hate to see how they would do a Kurt Angle DVD, because they would probably do something really stupid, like, you know, show him getting beaten by Edge and Hunter and, you know, something retarded. But I'm a big fan of Kurt Angle, and apparently he's, the rumor is that he's going to be taking some time off. Apparently
really?
He's hurt pretty bad.
He's been hurt for years.
Well, he had come back, and he was working this new style. I don't know if you've noticed it or not, but when he came to ECW, he's working I don't want to call it a legit wrestling style, but it's more of a, you know, it's what it looks like. It doesn't look like he's doing, you know, monkey flips and hip tosses. He's actually wrestling his opponents down to the mat.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was watching him this week, I've been watching him for a few weeks, it started to really bother me that I don't mind that style. In fact, I kind of like it because it's different. It's different than what everybody else does. Everybody else does, you know, hip toss, body slam, you know, whatever. Typical pro wrestling moves. He actually, like, wrestles. And that's cool with me because it's something different, but it never really worked because they have him as a baby face. And for him to work this style, he can't, like, take any bumps or anything, really, and that's one of the reasons he's working this style.
Mm-hmm.
When you have to do that and you can't take any bumps, that means you're going to be in control most of the match. But you can't really do that as a baby face. You know, because basically you're wrestling someone, and it never gives, you know, the whole point of wrestling is is a baby face, you're getting beat down, and then you make a comeback. And Kurt Angle could never do that because he was always in control.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's the problem I have with that. Hello?
Yeah.
Those are good memories. Those are really good memories. I mean, that was how it was all started.
There you go.
Memories of Kurt. Memories just thinking back of just how awesome he was and how awesome he's always been.
Uh-huh.
amazing to think that it's all coming to an end. His career, also our radio program as well. I mean, that I don't know what we're going to do to pass the time moving forward in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to figure out something.
Yeah.
Well, the fax troll is fired back up. We have something to do over the next few minutes, for sure. That would be discussing, and it's really hard to even say this. I don't know how we did it for all these episodes, how we had obscure Kurt Angle news. Every single episode we had that, but we always found something. Sometimes it was something about Kurt's dog, maybe his neighbor, maybe someone, an Uber driver. Remember what we were talking about when Kurt rode with the Uber driver? And we spent 35 minutes talking to the Uber driver. We were able to get a hold of him, and I think people really enjoyed. That was episode 247, if you want to go back and listen to that, the interview with Kurt's Uber driver. And I think people probably really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
This week we have to talk about something not so nice, and it won't be as fun as talking to the Uber driver. We have to talk about Kurt's younger brother, Eric Angle, who, of course, we had him on the show. That was that was way back, like maybe episode 73, something like that. We had Eric Angle on. We talked to him for 3 hours and 45 minutes about the time that he was on, and he got to portray his older brother, which I can't imagine anything greater in my entire life than getting to spend time on television pretending to be Kurt Angle. I can't imagine there would be anything better.
There you go.
So, but the news is not so good for Eric. Unfortunately, he has been arrested. He was charged. This is with simple assault charges after an incident at a junior wrestling event. Very sad to hear this. He says, witnesses say Eric Angle picked up a young wrestler by his neck following a loss on the mat at the Pennsylvania Junior Wrestling Championships. It's very sad. Hopefully Kurt can come in, talk with Eric, because if there's one thing Kurt's even better at than being in the ring, it would be being a mentor and being somebody that knows the rights and wrongs, has never been in trouble with the law, would always be on the right side, would always be the guiding light. And I think that's what Eric Angle needs right now. I mean, I just can't imagine that you could have a better guide in your life than Kurt Angle.
There you go.
I think it's really important, and I really hope that Eric can get his act together, can turn it around. I know with Kurt's guidance, he could do it. Remember, Eric, the 3 eyes. Remember the 3 eyes. The 3 eyes will always get you through. And I just hope Kurt can get to you soon enough before you truly go down the wrong path.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle question of the week time here, kids. Kurt Angle question of the week. This week we get a question from Casey S., who writes, what match did Kurt never have that you wish that he did? That's a great question. So we've had so many great questions over the years here on Moveset Radio. It's great that Casey came through with our final question. Just so many great questions over the years, and that's just another one.
There you go.
So, we're going to be discussing Casey's question. So what match did Kurt never have that you wish he did? I think that Kurt, as happy as I was for all those years in WWE and ECW, I mean, he basically reinvented ECW. I mean, he brought that to a glory period that it would have never, ever happened without him. I mean, never would the WWE version of ECW have been anything without Kurt Angle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that I'm very happy that he was able to reinvent. I mean, that was what we were talking about, the flashback we had earlier in the show. The one place that I do wish Kurt would have gone, I wish he would have gone to Japan, to the land of the rising sun, to the Orient, where he could have shown, you know, there are a lot of people out there listening to this show. And they think, well, Kurt Angle was great. I don't think anyone would debate that. I don't understand. I don't think it's possible that anyone could debate the greatness of Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
But there are people that would say there were better wrestlers in this world. Some people may point to Kenny Omega now. They may point to Okada. And I just kind of laugh at that. I mean, Kurt and Okada were in TNA at the same time. And I can't imagine. I saw Okada in TNA. He was nothing to write home about. He was no Kurt Angle. I can't even fathom that people would want to put Okada in the same sentence as Kurt Angle. To be honest, it's just baffling to me.
Uh-huh.
I don't understand it. I don't think I ever will.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's something people really need to rethink their stance on Okada versus Kurt Angle.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope people will rethink that, because I think if that's the one match I wish I could have seen. I wish I could have seen Okada versus Kurt Angle so that people would shut up and realize, like you realize, like I realize, that Kurt Angle is the greatest wrestler that ever lived.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, this is just about bringing a tear to my eye. The show has gone by so fast. So fast. It feels like we've only been recording for like 17 minutes. And here we are in hour 6 of Moveset Radio number 282. I think it's only appropriate that this radio show, this final tribute to Kurt Angle, will be longer than the WrestleMania show that's coming up. They're saying that that's going to be a 7.5-hour show. Well, I think you will agree that we would be okay if we went ahead and did a 9-hour show on Kurt Angle here on Moveset Radio 282. It's just so appropriate. And I think back, when I think back to Kurt, and actually I think back to this intro music, and we've talked about it before, another match that would have been great would have been Kurt Angle versus Ken Patera. I think Kurt could have figured out that swinging full Nelson, not only how to break it, but how to apply it better than poor Kenny Patera ever did it.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle, current wrestling news here, kids. Current wrestling news, and of course we're talking WrestleMania. He's had all these fantastic matches leading up to WrestleMania, this farewell tour of sorts. And now we're going to have Kurt Angle versus Baron Corbin. I'm not happy about that. I know no one is. I know that you're not happy about it either.
Yeah.
And we are going to be discussing that here a little later. But first, I want to talk about all of the great WrestleMania matches that Kurt's had over his long and illustrious career. And I want to talk about one in particular, because I had heard Dave Meltzer, friend of the show. We're friends. We get along with Dave great. Dave and Brian at WrestlingObserver.com. Looking forward to seeing him at StarCast too. But sometimes even friends disagree, right? Even friends disagree.
Yeah.
That is the case tonight. I heard Dave on a recent show talking about the Brock Lesnar Kurt Angle WrestleMania match, and he did not give that match 5 stars. He said solely because at the end of the match, Brock went for the shooting star press. I'm sure you remember that. I mean, you remember the Brock shooting star press, yes?
Yeah.
And it was something, I think if he had hit that move properly, we would still be talking. We would have probably talked about it on, we would probably talked about it on every other show on Moveset Radio, but I think it probably would have been on at least 80% of the shows.
Yeah.
So, we're going to go and we're going to talk about that. Dave would not give that match 5 stars because of something Brock screwed up. As far as I'm concerned, it takes 2 to tango. Kurt did everything in that match that he needed to do. It was a 5-star match. It was a 5-star Kurt Angle match. He couldn't help it if Brock screwed something up. How is that? How on earth would it not be a 5-star match for Kurt Angle because Brock Lesnar screwed something up?
There you go.
So, you and I are in agreement. That was a 5-star WrestleMania match.
Okay.
Right. And now he's going into WrestleMania. He's going into WrestleMania, and this is going to be the toughest match of his career. The hardest match of his career. The final match of his career. He's taking on Baron Corbin. And I know this is usually your segment, but is it okay if I do the haiku instead?
Yeah.
Great. This is something that's been just tremendous all throughout this show's history. I feel kind of wrong. I feel kind of wrong that I am doing it instead of you. But I greatly appreciate it. I think you know this has been a passion for me. This has been a labor of love. Moveset Radio. I know it has been for you as well.
Uh-huh.
And I know a lot of times it would be things where we would have to take time away from our families just to be able to come and record this.
Mm.
But it was something I think we always wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Something we always enjoyed doing.
Mm-hmm.
Something we wish we could continue doing for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
But we can't. Unfortunately, we can't. Kurt is calling it quits. It's just sad. It's sad. It's just so sad.
Yeah.
So many memories of haikus you've done over the years. 17 syllables of greatness. All the time. I worked very hard on this haiku to try and bring it full circle, to make it would be something that would make you proud of me as well, Blade. So I really hope that I do you well, and I do our listeners well.
There you go.
I'm tearing up a little bit. This is really, really difficult, but I'm going to give it my best. I'm going to give it my best shot. And it's all about Kurt in WrestleMania. Kurt versus Corbin. What a dumb way for it to end. I'll miss his moveset. See, I just wanted to bring it all home. I wanted to bring it home for Kurt. I wanted to bring it home for our listeners. And I wanted to bring it home for you, Blade. as we wrap it up, I just have to ask, was that okay for you?
Yeah.
And it's okay that it was 18 syllables and not 17?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Great. Moveset.
Yeah.